Well, hello there, AppleBite. This is your AppleBite, Rafael Tavares, talking to you straight from New York Comic Con. And we have been here at Headlocked, stationed, hanging out, doing our press thing. And that's all because of...
Hey, my name is Mike Kingston. I'm the writer and creator of Headlocked.
See? Great guy, right? So, tell me, what made you start Headlocked?
We got to talk about something first.
Uh-oh, what do we got to talk about?
We've been together all weekend, right? You and me? We're all like, you were so low key, like just whatever, and then the camera hit and you were like, boom, like showtime. Like it was like, I was like, whoa, who's this guy? You got me there. I was like, what the? That's impressive.
Oh, thanks, I appreciate that.
All right. So, I love wrestling, I love comics, I've loved them both since I was like 8 years old, you know? And they always made wrestling comics like wrestlers doing things other than wrestling. Undertaker fighting demons and Kevin Nash as Mad Max and whatever. And like it was like they were doing anything but wrestling. Like you'd be like, oh yeah, we could get a comic book about Sting farming or something. You know what I mean? But like you couldn't get anything about wrestling. So at some point it became apparent they weren't going to make the comic book that I wanted to read. So I made it myself. I started Headlocked, which is a story of a kid who's a theater major in college who falls in love with wrestling and he quits school, and it's his journey through the wrestling business, you know, learning the craft of wrestling, navigating the seedy underbelly, that type of thing. And, you know, I think it's a lot of fun. But, yeah, I started selling it out of my backpack at wrestling shows. I worked 2 jobs to buy enough, you know, to make enough money to buy some convention tables, and we started hitting the circuit. And then I was fortunate enough that a lot of wrestlers who like comics that would come to Comic Cons as fans would buy the book from me.
Nice.
And then, you know, a lot of them would reach out and tell me how much they liked it. And then from there, I managed to convince Jerry the King Lawler to be my cover artist. You know, Jerry's a super incredible artist. We do these Norman Rockwell style books, covers. And so, you know, from there, it all kind of just, you know, snowballed. I mean, and now we're, you know, we have the only wrestling booth in New York Comic Con. We have the only wrestling booth at San Diego Comic Con. I've had 40 different wrestlers do stories and art for my book. You know, it's really kind of blown up into something cool. I mean, you know, we spent the weekend hanging out with Sergeant Slaughter and Mick Foley and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Gangrel and Joey Janela. And, you know, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We had a pseudo 24/7 title change here at the booth. And,
I saw
you know,
the video, so that was fantastic.
You know,
we're gonna get it for you guys, and we're gonna post it up.
You know, lots of nonsense breaks out here. You know, I won the when Joey Ryan had the DDT Iron Man Pro. I won that at San Diego Comic Con one year. You know, and the goal has been about creating a space for wrestling fans to be appreciated at Comic Con. Like I feel like at Comic Con, everybody's fandom should be represented. You know. I mean, there's something for everybody here. But when I started going to cons, there was no wrestling. There was no wrestling stuff. Like, if you were lucky, there'd be, like, Virgil at an autograph table or something. And you know what I mean? But, like, it wasn't a place for wrestling fans to really get to, you know, plant the old freak flag and let it go, you know? So one of the things, along with making Headlocked, is I wanted to make a space. Like, we were the first thing at, like, 20 Comic Cons that didn't allow wrestling. You know, I'd be like, well, listen, I got a wrestling comic book. And they're like, all right, well, you got a comic book, so you can come to the show. I'd be like, well, I want to bring Jerry Lawler. And they'll be like, well, Jerry's a wrestler. We don't do any wrestlers. But Jerry does the art to my book. And they're like, all right, well, we'll advertise him as an artist, but not as a wrestler. So then we'd come to the show, and, you know, we'd blow the doors off. And then they'd be like, oh, well, I guess we're going to start booking wrestlers. You know, so, I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways we opened the door to a lot of wrestling at Comic-Con. But still, like we're the only booth here. We're the only booth at San Diego. We're the only booth at Emerald City. Like, on all the big markets, like, we have the wrestling booth in the wrestling space. And, you know, one of the coolest things about it is that wrestling fans are very appreciative. You know, they know there wasn't wrestling before, and now there's wrestling here. And I try to bring guys that bring a good fan experience. I try to make sure, you know, like, if WWE has somebody appear, you know what I mean, it's for an hour and it's just cattle sign, boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? And we don't want that. We want people to be able to interact and ask questions and have fun, you know? I mean, obviously everybody's here to make money, but you know what I mean? At the same time, it doesn't have to be, you know, you should be able to have a good experience out of it. And that's what I want, you know? I mean, sometimes I'll have a guy reach out and be like, oh, I want to be at your booth. And I'll be like, okay, well, how much, you know, what do you want to make? And they'll be like, oh, well, I want to make, you know, $25,000 an hour. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to happen, because I don't want that. You know what I mean? I don't want that experience for people. I don't care how big the name is. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to not get rushed through the, so, and that's what we do. We make.
Oh, I hate those hiccups, man. Whew, they always happen.
Woo. Yeah, I know. Drink a little bit of water. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Not too bad.
So you were talking about your prints and all the beautiful stuff you have back there.
Yeah, it's just about creating a good experience and giving people like something fun, you know. So we do these comic book mashup prints. We made a Grindhouse Scott Steiner poster based on the infamous Steiner Math promo. You know, just different kinds of things to, you know, give people something to enjoy and to go home with and to have a positive experience with. I do think Comic-Con should be like the church in Highlander, you know what I mean? Like everybody should be able to get along, all the fandoms get along, and you know, we don't point any fingers here, you know. But yeah, it was always frustrating to me that wrestling, like two-dimensional men in tights in a battle of good and evil is like nerdy. Three-dimensional men in tights in colorful costumes in a battle of good and evil is apparently not nerdy enough for some people, but we make it nerdy. So I'm really happy what we've been able to accomplish this far, and you know, we got more stuff going on. Like you can hear, like that's like listen to those kids just yell, "Hey, that's Mick Foley!" You know what I mean? Like to be able to bring that kind of excitement to con, you know what I mean? Like that's, you know what I mean? Like it sounds trite, but you know what I mean? Like that's why we do it, you know?
I have to admit, like the greatest thing, one of the, well, besides being able to stand right next to Sergeant Slaughter, you know, that was just whoa. And then it was the reverence of the people passing by going, "Oh my God, Sergeant Slaughter! Oh my God, Sergeant Slaughter! Oh my God!" And you just kept hearing over and over and over.
Yeah, and I mean it's great, you know what I mean? Because for a long time, wrestling kind of got the second-class citizen treatment, not just in comics, but everywhere, you know? And that was why I wrote Headlocked in the first place, you know? Like, we're telling a story of a kid who's a theater major, and he's working his way through the business, but like starting on day zero, so you sort of examining the craft of wrestling through the eyes of a performance artist, and then, you know, by having all the art being done by actual wrestlers, like that sort of, you know, just hammers that point home that wrestling's an art form and it deserves to be treated as such, you know? And wrestling and comics is the same way. Like, Hurricane always says, like, you know, if you see a great painting, you consider that art. And if you read a good book, you consider that art. But if you put those things together, how is that just for kids? You know what I mean? So it's about, like, for me, like, I mean, no one's doing drama in comics anymore. So for me, it was about doing a drama, a straight drama in comics, and pushing the envelope of what comics can be and changing people's perception about what wrestling can be. Like, I feel like how many people watch Rocky that don't watch boxing on the regular, you know? So if you can tell an entertaining story, you can hide the medicine in the food, you know? And that's always been my goal, is to tell an entertaining story. And, you know, we do the Norman Rockwell covers, and it's familiar stuff to people who maybe don't watch wrestling. And they're like, okay, I'll read this. You know, I like drama, I like, you know, cable dramas or whatever. And then be like, oh, wow, I had no idea that all this went into professional wrestling. You know, I just thought it was oiled up hairless men pretending to hit each other. And I mean, it is, but it's so much more than that. You know, there's so much nuance, and by using the actual wrestlers, we're able to portray that, you know. And my favorite thing is when a wrestler's like, oh, did you ever wrestle? Because this is so, like, authentic. And yeah, and that always warms my heart, so.
That's just fantastic. I love that. I love experiencing being here in the booth with you guys, seeing all the fun that happens, seeing the reverence of the people passing by going, Foley, Sergeant Slaughter, oh my God, it's just fantastic. You have something really good here, and I hope that people out there come and check you out. If they want to do that, where can they find you?
On the internets, everything is Headlocked Comic, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's our website. You can order books off our website. We have a YouTube channel where occasionally I post travelogue videos. I have a little like weird show called Comics, Cosplay, and Carbohydrates. I film some cosplay and convention travels and places I go to eat and when I'm in various cities. So it's you know, it's some dumb fun, something to do. It's the best thing. It's hard to do here just because it's such a cluster, and it's hard to do when I'm at shows by myself. So finding a sweet spot of shows where I've got help, where I can walk around and film stuff and not like leave my booth unattended, but still not be overrun like this is it's tricky. But
I can tell by just helping you out this weekend.
We make it work. So. That's really fun too. That's something people can check out. But everything we do on social media is all Headlocked Comic, and it's one word. So.
All right, cool. So there you have it. Do yourself a favor and check it out.
Hey man, how you doing? Good. Want to take a photo with the Hardcore Legend?
Yes, sir.
All right, come back here. Ready? Okay, photo.
One, two, three.
I did it! I did it! champion right here. New champion, another title. I'm getting out of here. New champion. I just won the title. New champion. Whoa, I did it. I did it. New champion. Foley, 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 Foley. Go Adrian. I did it. Big Foley. I did it. I'm the new 24/7 champion. I did it. Oh, no.
Champion!
Champion!